Welcome to the What's Already podcast, where we fashion ourselves television judge and Jerry. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-hosts Matt Sinheiner.
Better red than dead.
And Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
All right, and we are here to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi, episode 3. I can't believe we're already on episode 3. Because there's only like 6.
Yeah, what are they doing?
It said limited series, JJ. Are they planning on doing season 2, or we're just getting 3 more and that's it?
From what I've heard, they're not, but I don't know. It's like the number 1 watched on Disney Plus ever, so I would have a hard time believing they wouldn't find a way to do more. I don't know, though. They may not. I would be okay depending on how this one goes if they didn't. I think what I'd like to see is Obi-Wan pop up into some different shows. Though a lot of it's hard because most of the shows that are happening live action take place after Return of the Jedi. So we're talking stuff that he wouldn't be able to necessarily, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure there's other shows coming that he could do something in, but I hope we get a season 2 because we're 3 episodes in, we're halfway in, and I am just loving it. So this one picked up, interestingly enough, it was a little slow, which I liked because it gave time for some character development. And I really liked besides Zach Braff and the weird mole creature that he was.
That wasn't Mark Hamill?
No, Mark Hamill wasn't in this one that I saw.
Notes and everything. That's JJ. If this was Mark Hamill, I don't know where my pen went, but
no, that was Zach Braff from
so close.
Scrubs. Yeah, no big cameos that I saw, not in person anyway. We did get a glimpse of old Hayden Christensen in full
for like
Jedi garb.
3 seconds.
It's true, but they made up for it real quick when you hear James Earl Jones's voice as Darth Vader.
Who is walking around as Darth Vader? Is it a nobody?
Yeah, it's I tried to look it up to see, and they have like the people that are walking around, and it's just somebody I've never even heard their name. So
Hayden Christensen so far has been paid to look very angry in a back to whatever
yeah,
tank.
back to tank,
and then look like old Anakin, like all up in his feelings underneath a cloak,
which makes him the smartest person in this show.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Yep.
I don't know what they're paying him, but pay the man.
Yeah. And I don't know if I don't know if he's in the suit at some point. I mean, I know he talked about being in the suit when they've done some interviews with him. So I'm sure there's something that's the suit that's him. But for the most part, I think it's just some dude walking around and maybe they just have to put that person in the credits because of the fact that there is somebody walking around on they do like B-rolls or things like that of him just walking down the dark, dusty road or whatever. But what did you guys think of the interaction between Leia and Obi-Wan in this one, besides the fact that they were having an open conversation that was pretty damning just behind this mole guy with what didn't look like a vehicle that had windows? So
I liked it much more than episode 1 and 2. In the first 2 episodes, I got the vibe, this kid, right, brat, but I could make the connection to 19-year-old Leia. So I was like, this kid is awesome because she's playing the role the way that makes it make sense. It just annoying to me because I was like, he's trying to help you, go with him.
Yeah.
But this time around, I think we see her kind of growing a bit and losing that entitled princess atmosphere and kind of realizing this is the real world. Like, shoot, there's a chance I'm not going to get home. The only person who can really get me there is this guy. I'm going to play a little bit nicer. And kind of, so I really enjoyed their interaction more in this one because it's like, okay, she's actually human. Thank goodness.
For me, it just felt like there was better chemistry. I don't know that they probably had some more screen time together. So not even just what Alec was talking about, it just felt more believable and felt like Leia's, the whatever child actor, whatever her name is, she kind of settled into the character more, and it didn't feel as forced. Like when she was improvising, I was like, oh, like great job. That's probably Leia thinking on her feet, like we've seen later on when she's older, and it felt natural, and just felt like their interaction was what I wanted it to be in episodes 1 and 2. So I'm because that was one of my biggest critiques from the last time we did this, and felt much better, which I was happy about. Because if it had sucked this time, then man, that really would have been unfortunate. Because the first half of this episode was basically the two of them having this conversation that the mole guy, very friendly guy, but still pro Empire, just salty screwed them when he took them to that gate. He's like, probably should check him out. Like, well, F you, dude. Thought you were friendly.
Yep. Yeah, it was interesting to get that. I liked that, to be honest. I liked the take of not everybody hates the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we need a little order around here.
Yeah, we do. A little bit of order. Go Empire.
Shit was great. I loved it. Yeah, so it's one of those things where I liked the slowdown of it. And they did it better in the way that they slowed it down in the first episode with the whole giant sand salmon butcher.
Yeah, this was a point to the slowdown in this one.
Yeah. But I did like too, and what's gotten me a couple of times is watching Obi-Wan like look at Leia or look at Luke and or even have a conversation of Owen where he goes back, because we obviously know that he's traumatized. He's living with this at first he's living with the fact that he killed Anakin, or he thought he did. And now he's living with the fact that Anakin's still alive. And so, but he's definitely not Obi-Wan that we know from the prequel trilogy, right?
No, he's a wuss.
Yeah, he's like he's not doing very well. He's got some issues, but I like rusty. To see, when you get these little flashes, right? Like where he's talking to Leia and he's like, you just remind me of someone. Or when he's talking to, in the first episode, there was a part where he's talking to Owen and he's talking about training Luke, and like he had that confident swagger again. So it's nice I like those moments where the old Obi-Wan kind of shows his face versus the beaten, kind of grizzled, doesn't know what to do with himself. So
beaten and grizzled he was, JJ, because that sword fight, lightsaber battle, man, for me, it was painful to watch.
Yeah.
Painful for Vader too. He's like, I'm not gonna kill this dude right now. He can't even fight me. It's not even. It doesn't make me feel worth it.
Yeah, it was. And I like that they did that. Right, that they don't show that he just steps right back into badass Obi-Wan. He's struggling. He gets his butt kicked the whole fight.
Yeah, he got dragged through flames.
Which was
but they did
so
him
good.
dirty. They didn't have to do him that dirty. They could have shown a little bit of the old Obi-Wan coming through.
Oh, I like it.
Oh, they did him so dirty.
Yeah, and I loved the way that Vader's toying with him at this point, right? Like he knows, he realizes this isn't the same guy. There's no fear there from Vader. Like he does not care. And he just lights this fire, and I'm like, oh no. That is sick right there. And that's that's a Vader thing, right? Like I'm going to torture. And this is like the guy he probably hates more than anybody else.
Why did he let him go? Because he knew he's going to catch him again?
He didn't care. There. Well, and that's Vader's thing. And that's one of those things that when you think back on, there's been a couple of moments in the original trilogy. And then of course they did it a little bit in what's that? I can't think of it now. The one that they're doing Andor off of Rogue One, where something like that'll happen. Like somebody will get away and he'll just kind of stand there for a minute and think about it. And then he just goes on. And I love that too. That's part of what makes Vader, before we knew who Vader technically was, made Vader kind of creepy, because you can't see his face. You can't see the emotion. He's just this cowl and this helmet, and he just stands there for a second. And you know he's seething underneath that helmet. So I
don't think he was seething though with the Obi-Wan this time, because I feel like he could have still gone. He could have just used the Force and just held him there. Yeah, but he let it go.
I think he wasn't messing with it. He let it go, and he's like, I'll catch him again. We'll find him again. We found him now, so he's not going to get away. And I like the fact that he's kind of toying with him at that point. He's like, let him think he has hope, right? And that's that's something that Vader also is very good at, is let them think that they have just enough hope. And then you come in and destroy that hope. But I will say a line that got me with Vader was he's walking in and they're Obi-Wan asks him, "What have you become?" And he's, I became what you made me. And then even more poignant for me was because I was sitting there and he goes, "What have you become?" And I'm like, "Oh, please say I am what you made me." Like that would just be perfect. But then when he's walking and he's chasing him and he says, "You should have killed me when you had the chance." Man, that was so good. Cause I think about it from a tortured Anakin perspective. Like I don't think he just says that, or at least in my mind, I don't think he just says that to say, "You're screwed. You should have killed me when you had the chance because now I'm going to kill you." I think there's a portion of it saying, "I wish you had actually finished the job because I hate what I am and where I'm at and how I have to live." And the fact that he's just been getting stronger and more deadly for the last 10 years and hate. Oh, God, it was so good.
Very ruthless, just choking people out, throwing them against the wall, just killing people to drag the Jedi out. I mean, man, he did not care.
Yeah, no.
And I'm sure he does that wherever he goes.
Yeah, no F's given whatsoever. Throwing kids around, breaking necks. I was like, oh, wow. That's good stuff. Yeah, so excited. So there was a deep cut that I'm sure that you non-JJ level nerds didn't catch.
Try me.
When Obi-Wan, when they go into the safe house with this.
Whose insignia was that?
Well, are you talking about the one that
third sister saw?
That third sister looked at? So that's a Jedi symbol, and that actually a lot of that version of the Jedi symbol actually comes from the Old Republic, or the High Republic, as the new version of that is called now, that they've been writing these books and stuff. So that's the symbol of the Jedi. And I did go back and rewatch the first episode, and it's pretty obvious who third sister is if you go back and rewatch the first episode. There's a little African American girl with braids that's part of that first group. So there's no question that that's part of it. And I think, in my opinion, and they haven't led us towards that, but I think part of this 3 episodes that we have left will somehow she's going to have the start of a redemption arc, or they're introducing this so that they can give her own show so she has a redemption arc. I don't know. That's my guess in some way, shape, or form. But in that safe house, but when Obi-Wan looks and sees writing, and he says, "Oh, Quinlan was here."
I got that one. I know who that is.
Did you get that one? You know who Quinlan Voss is?
I do know who Quinlan Voss is. He's the one that I wish would show up in the freaking show.
Right? Quinlan's awesome. He has a really cool special Jedi ability.
I don't know what it is, but I know the name.
Yeah, Quinlan Voss. So he was introduced in the I'll kind of give you for Matson, because he
looks awesome.
He's got a Native American look to him with some dreadlocks and some like yellow paint under his eye. His race or his planet, whatever it's called, Kafar. He's a Kafar on planet Kifu. So he's a very interesting character, but he was part of the Clone Wars. They introduced him in Clone Wars, the animated series, and then he got his own book. And it seems like they've canoned it. It's canon. That book is canon now. Like, they've canonized all that stuff. I didn't know if it was part of Legends or not. But he is, he's very interesting. So I'm trying to remember how his special ability worked exactly. It had something to do with, like, he could sense emotion. Like, if he touched someone, it was their memories. So he could, if he touched an object that someone had previously touched or touched them, he could experience memories of that being. So he was really good at tracking. So, because he knew you were in a space, he could touch something and see the memory of being in there. So he had that special ability. A handful of Jedi have special abilities beyond just the normal ones. But anyway, he eventually goes away from the Jedi. It's interesting that they introduced him, because at this time frame, he would have been sent on a mission to assassinate Dooku. And to do that, he got close to, and this will be a name that if you haven't watched any of the Clone Wars, you probably won't know too much, but Asajj Ventress, who was Dooku's apprentice, he got close to Asajj Ventress, who was no longer following Dooku, and they fell in love. Long story short, they have this relationship, and then he turns to the dark side. He becomes her apprentice, turns to the dark side, and then becomes a double agent, goes back to the Jedi and is working for her as a double agent. He gets caught. He says he's going to go back, so he goes back to Asajj and they go to try to kill Dooku as part of his redemption plan sent by the Jedi. And Asajj Ventress gets killed for him. So she saves his life and dies to Dooku. And then he full on goes back wants to become part of the Jedi, goes back to the light, but you don't know anything about what happened to him after that book. So it's cool that they've now introduced him into live action. He's out there obviously doing doing good work in that he's helping with the Path group and helping to smuggle enemies of the Empire, specifically Jedi for the most part, it seemed like. But yeah, it was really cool. When he dropped Quinlan, I was like, oh crap, that's deep cut lore there. And I hope they bring him out. I knew it. So did you watch the Rebel or the
I
Clone
watched
Wars?
Clone Wars, I watched Rebels, and then didn't they also retcon like the Phantom Menace? There's a scene with someone who could pass as Quinlan.
Yeah.
On Tatooine, they retconned him to be that individual.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, he's dope.
Yeah, he's way cool. Way cool. He was pretty fun in the Clone Wars. That's why when they wrote that book, I was like, that's really cool that they brought him into that. So, but yeah, that's all canon. So it's really cool. Really, really cool. So yeah, I'm excited for that. But overall, I think it was just a cool episode. It was, got the lore built up, got the story. We now got Vader in there, third sister. Well, and I not a huge fan that this Empire chick left Leia alone and then went out a different exit. Like, I was like, really? I mean, obviously she needed to be there to save Obi-Wan, but I was hoping that they would get Leia away, because a big part of my problem is I don't want, the longer Leia and Obi-Wan are together, the more they've run into possible retcon issues with episode 4. So I start to worry about, if she knows him that well, it didn't seem like they knew each other all that well in episode 4. They were just, she knew him because of her father versus they've been spending all this time together after he saved her. I'm okay with him saving her. I want them to send her back so that they can move along. But anyway, that's just me.
Well, also there's a little bit of problem with the more time she spends around Vader, or
that
like
too.
in Vader's presence, because he doesn't know he has kids, and he doesn't learn about her really until, what was it, episode 6, right?
Yeah, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, Return of the Jedi is when he figures out that she's even around. But the longer Obi-Wan, Vader, and Leia are all in the same vicinity, you run into those problems.
That's a good point.
Sensing back and forth.
Very good point.
Vader's brain got burned. He's stupid.
Stupid, powerful, maybe.
Yeah. I do have a question about the Inquisitors.
Okay.
Because I know that like a lot of their story is Rebels, video games, and kind of the books, right?
Yeah.
And
they were introduced in Rebels.
Type of a thing. I still have a problem with that whole Inquisitor crew. They aren't scary to me, first of all. They don't have that villain kind of aspect. And once again, I blame that on the Star Wars story in general. They started off with the baddest bad guy you can ever have, and there's no way to top it.
Yeah.
And their whole manipulating back and forth for a power structure makes kind of sense with Vader, until you understand that Vader didn't stand for any of that. Like, he is not the guy you want to kiss butt with. That is the wrong career move because he'll just kill you. He doesn't care. And so this whole kind of bantering back and forth of who's going to be the next Grand Inquisitor, it's going to be me, going behind each other's backs to tattletale to Papa Vader. And it's like, I just don't understand, because from what I know, it seems like the worst career move you could ever do. Your best bet is to get on somebody else's good side, because Vader kills people just for, coming out of hyperspace too early or too close to a planet, like straight up murders them.
That's fair.
So I have a problem with this whole Inquisitor crew, and just their actions don't make sense to me.
So I think, and this is one of the problems with the bringing the Inquisitors into live action, in my opinion. I like it, but the Inquisitors are from Rebels, which had some very intense moments and very emotional moments, and especially in the last 2 seasons. But in the first 2 seasons, it was kind of happy-go-lucky and silly, and, you got kids. It was designed more for kids even than the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars was very heavy from the beginning, with some lighthearted stuff that was thrown in, but it was a pretty heavy show, even for a kid's show. Rebels was not at first. It got really heavy at the end, but it wasn't in the first couple seasons, and that's where they introduced heavily the Inquisitors. The Grand Inquisitor was the main villain in the first, and I think even the second season he was a big deal. But anyway, it's so to me, I see them and I'm attached to them. And then on top of that, so Fifth Brother, the guy that's there in this one, Fifth Brother, and even I don't know her number, but the other one with the tails, the Liku, they were in the animated version. So there's an animated version of them in Rebels. Third sister, no. There was a seventh sister who was in I think the end of the second season when they introduced
Ahsoka, right?
Ahsoka, yeah. She handed Ahsoka handed seventh sister her behind, along with Fifth Brother. And then the other one with the Likus, I don't remember, but you don't see third sister, and I'm assuming that's because she either redeems herself and goes back, or she gets killed at some point before. But I'm with you. Like, there was never a battle for who's going to be the next Grand Inquisitor. And maybe this whole issue that they're playing out in this show is why it wasn't a problem when we see them 5 years from now or 4 years from here. So yeah, I mean, that could be it, but I'm with you. Like, it's a little weird, this whole play for power. And obviously it doesn't help that we know that the Grand Inquisitor isn't dead. You know what I mean? Like, we know that from Rebels. So it also takes a little bit of that drama out, because we're sitting there as, that plot device and understanding that it doesn't matter what they do, because neither of them end up as the Grand Inquisitor. So anyway, but I'm with you. I like it. Makes sense where it's a little weird. I do like third sister this episode more than I did the first two. The first two, she kind of annoyed me for the most part. This one, I liked her a little bit more, but I am kind of tired of her and Fifth Brother going at it. Like, have them actually go at it or move along, because Vader would just be like, okay, whoever's still standing. What was that, Alec?
I would say saber duel.
Yeah, exactly. Have it happen. Yeah, because seriously, because if you did it even in front of Vader, he'd either kill you both, or he'd let it happen and just go, okay, you're done. Let's go find Obi-Wan now. Quit dicking around.
Or he'd invite you to both fight him, and then he'd kill you both.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just waiting for that to like come to a head, and so I'm just kind of, their interaction feels distracting to me when they start arguing with each other, and Fifth Brother's kind of a petulant little child. So
why does Vader have tubes in him? I was surprised by that when he came out of the tank, that he had like, does he have dialysis? That's what it made me think of.
I'd have to rewatch it. Whenever they're in a bacta tank, they usually have like a mask that has a tube so they can breathe.
Yeah, but they had two in his back, in his lower back.
Oh, that part. I don't know. I know that he has, so the little square that's on his chest,
what's that?
Actually breathes for him. Like, that's a a piece of machinery that helps him, that fills that suit so that he can breathe. And that's what the controls are on there. And then, yeah, I mean, basically he's a walking life support system. So I don't know if maybe that's some sort of body fluid catheter, because with all the scar tissue and everything, I'm sure he's got some. You also have to think about to get really technical on a cyborg level, but if that much machinery that's attached to flesh, there's probably, you have to have lubricants to make sure the elbows bend and things like that. So some of that may go into the body. You might have to. So I mean, those are all theoretical. I don't know for sure what those two for.
Does he have he must have a bag.
Probably got some sort of.
Poor Vader.
Yeah. Like I said, should have killed me when you had the chance. Like, that was all I thought. I was like, oh, he just wants to die. Like,
I just want to see. I want to see a good lightsaber battle, because it was so cringy to see how wimpy Obi-Wan was that I was almost like, man, I can't even watch this. He's such a scared little dude that like Vader's just could kill him right now. Could have killed him like 20 times.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I thought the same thing, and then I thought, you know what, I'm okay with that, because it was like he would be for 10 years. He's been cutting himself off from the Force. He's not going to be the same guy.
I mean, I get it. I just,
but I'm with you.
The last time we saw those two fight, it was like one of the best fight scenes in all of cinema, certainly for Star Wars. I mean, it's like a 15-minute lightsaber battle.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
and over here, and we're just like,
don't forget to check out the TikTok Alec made about that being my top choice of
it's a good
duels, because it's crazy.
So I'm curious to see what's going to happen in these next three and what progressions will happen there. But I mean, good episode all around. And screw mole driving emperor guy.
His name's Frank. He's got a name. Put some respect on Frank's name. He is a hardworking cog in the Empire machine.
That was such like a normal Star Wars name. I was like, Frank? Like, what? That's not Star Wars. Frank.
Yeah.
He's probably got family in Toll, and there's good people in Toll. And that's some good stock name right there.
It's like
Frank
came out of like Kansas or something. I'm like, that's like we're
Toll's full of farmers. It makes sense, Mattson.
When I just loved the freaking all the stormtroopers. Thanks, Frank. See you, Frank. What the hell? Good stuff. All right. Any final thoughts?
I have one. Stormtroopers are still stormtroopers. They apparently serve no function except to die. It's usually what happens. Poor stormtrooper that got cut in half by the laser barrier or whatever. They never do anything right, and I don't know what they're for. That's all.
Cannon fodder.
I was hoping during the lightsaber battle we would get Obi-Wan's signature where he does the thing with his lightsaber. Even though he's, out of shape. Come on! I wanted it so bad. And I didn't get it. So that sucked. But I'm hoping it comes when we get the actual lightsaber battle, because if that's all we're getting, I will riot.
Yeah, I won't lie, gentlemen. There's a little bit of nervousness in the pit of my stomach knowing there's only 3 episodes left. And we're still far away from the Obi-Wan of old. So I'm interested to see how he connects. And I do have a feeling that my thought is there will be a second season, because they keep leaning towards him actually communicating with Qui-Gon, because it's obvious they're leaning into the fact that he hasn't been able to communicate with Qui-Gon. And it's canon at this point that he does at some point during his stay on Tatooine. So my guess is we're leading into, because he's cut himself off from the Force, he hasn't had to talk to Obi-Wan or been able to, or to Qui-Gon, and now at this point, are we going to get Liam Neeson back for a quick conversation at the end? Because that'd be dope. And he is coming back for the new animated show that's coming out in like a year. So we'll see. Should be interesting. There it is. All right. Well, Obi-Wan Kenobi. We'll see you guys next Friday or next Thursday when we record. This will be audio on Friday, and then you can find wherever you listen to podcasts, and then you can also watch this on the loop at YouTube or here on Facebook. So we appreciate that. Mattson, tell them where else they can find us.
Yeah, if you're watching this video or listening, you can find us on whatsourverdict.com, most especially, but on anywhere you listen to good podcasts, Apple, Spotify, you want to chime in on social media, we are most active on TikTok for cool things. You can see our tiger that fills in for Alex sometimes, movie trivia, and just other things that we get made fun of for. And then Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, just kind of helping you know what's upcoming or what's been released these upcoming weeks. But come chime into these live things as we drop more The Boys, Stranger Things, Westworld. I mean, there's all that Miss Marvel, all kinds of stuff that's coming out.
Yeah, that's next week, Miss Marvel. Jeez.
So
much. Yeah, it's been so long since we've done lives. I forgot I could put our banner at the bottom. So go check out our website there that's floating at the bottom of the screen. Yeah, cool. There it is. Obi-Wan, episode 3. We'll see you next week for episode 4. And as always, we appreciate you tuning in. We will catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Cinemagic out.
Whoa!